winds of change are ever present in the sails of humanity's voyage through time. From sacred plant to vaporized concentrate, this three-part series will attempt to delve into the nuanced history of tobacco in America, providing context for its use. Our journey begins in ancient America and ends in modern day. We pan in on two characters sitting on a balcony overlooking the city. One is from a farm over in Pennsylvania. The other is a new native to the city's middle class. One has just turned 22 and the other is almost 21. The year is 1924. Adopted in her teens and then living in the city's middle class is a black woman named Dorothy Davis. The other, a white woman from a dairy farm over in Pennsylvania. Looking to find her new lease on life, her name is Eloise Thomas. Eloise and Dorothy are in Dorothy's apartment, and the two of them are preparing for a night out at a local spot Dorothy has been frequenting. This is Eloise's first night out in the city. Dorothy has written her letters for the past 3 months about the things she has seen, the music she's heard, and the men she has met. Upon receiving those letters, Eloise's mind flooded with images of signs decorated in lights and buildings that seemed to scrape the sky. And when she finally arrived to meet her friend, she was given a personal tour. Save for the occasional looks the two always got when they were together, the city did not disappoint. But there is something she's noticed in Dorothy. It's not just the content of her letters growing more and more daring, but Dorothy's tone as well. It was almost as if Dorothy were declaring her actions rather than simply sharing them with her. The two women both grew up in orphanages. Before getting adopted at 15, Dorothy lost her parents to racial violence, and Eloise lost her father not to the war but to alcoholism upon its conclusion. Her father wanted nothing to do with his old life upon returning, and her mother tragically died of heartache, though secretly she saw her mother still away in her room with the bottle of arsenic. Eloise was never adopted. She turned 18 and found work as a hired girl on a farm only 3 miles from the orphanage. Dorothy takes a long drag of her cigarette and steals a glance at Eloise before they leave for the city below. She can see Eloise's eyebrows furrowed in thought. Dorothy lifts up her skirt and receives an equally lifted set of eyebrows from Eloise. Dorothy shoots Eloise the smile that has already broken the hearts of several men and pulls out a flask from her rolled up stocking. She hands it to Eloise and declares, "This is for you. I'm going to teach you the Charleston tonight." Okay, so we're going to talk about the use of tobacco in traditional America. This time period is so varied that I kind of found it hard to pin down one specific time. So researching into my wild brain, I came up with the time period where the typewriter was used to document things, whether it was for government work or business work, or if you're writing a letter to a loved one at home. Why a typewriter? There's literally no reason. That's just what comes to mind for me when I picture traditional America. So what were things like during that time period? Well, first, the typewriter finally caught root in the mainstream by the early 1900s, and by the 1920s, it was a staple in government buildings, offices, and many American homes. So let's take a look at 1920s America. We have fast-forwarded nearly 200 years into the future, after Europeans began arriving en masse to the Goodwill world. Goodwill because it's new to them, but was definitely a used item, if you know what I mean. Native American nations, by this point, were not even a shadow of their former selves. Racist and elitist attitudes from what was now the new Native American towards the American Indian population had left traditional Native American communities suffering from short life expectancy, disease, malnutrition, a diminishing land base, and a stagnant, unrealistic school system. There were people like John Collier, Charles Rhodes, and even the mythical Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who were looking to reform the treatment and status of the OG Native American in 1920s America, but these changes really didn't start gaining momentum until a decade later. And by this point, it was like putting a Band-Aid on a decapitated body. The damage was already done, and there was no going back now. Coming off the heels of the war to end all wars, the United States of America was in its rebellious phase. A mixture of shock, fear, and morbid incredulity concerning the fragility of life in the minds of the common American helped to fuel what would come next. Before then, Americans in that generation had never seen death and destruction on such a scale. Brothers, fathers, husbands, and friends were coming home maimed, shell-shocked, riddled with PTSD and trauma, if they even came home at all. And with the advent of this new thing called the radio, all of America now witnessed in real time and in unison the true cost of war. And so, firmly and boldly dismissing the conservative nature of 17 and 1800s America, with its stuffy, itchy dresses, body-breaking corsets, and a simple color palette of grays, blacks, and blues, the 1920s was a time of reinvention and vitality. Women wore light, airy clothes that were more revealing than ever. The flapper culture of 19 and 20-somethings openly bucking the sensible trends of their mothers and grandmothers before them, and doing so in front of neighbors and family friends, was a cultural phenomenon whose effects we still bear witness to today. And of course, we can't forget the music. Classical music and banjo folk music was out the door and placed firmly in the trash can to make room for the devil's music. Young people everywhere were dancing to music from the likes of Jelly Roll Morton, Louis Armstrong, Eddie Hines, Sidney Bechet, and many, many more. Cultures that had never before crossed the train tracks to the other side were now in living rooms and speakeasies all across the country. I'm only going to touch this topic of flappers and 1920s lightly, because there are so many other great YouTube videos out here about the 1920s, and I don't want to come across as a cheap knockoff or bore you to death. But I need to say this: the underlying social battle between moralists and flapper culture was very serious.
Like the long skirts better than the short skirts?
No, I prefer the shorter ones.
You like short skirts better?
Yes.
You don't like the new styles of long skirts?
Well, if they're not too long. Straight bottoms, I prefer.
Why don't you like the new style?
I don't think they're quite quite as comfortable.
Do you think the new styles are more attractive?
Well, it depends on the person. If the person is tall, if the person is too short, I don't care for it.
Thank you very much.
Families were splintered, and the American home was being tested in ways never before thought possible. Many true flapper women did not have a home to go back to because their parents or conservative communities had kicked them out for fear her ways would taint the rest of the family or tarnish their names in the community. And yet, the youth of that time felt deep down that their lives could potentially amount to nothing more than a cog in some man's machine. And they decided if they were going to go down, they would go down swinging. Pause. Did you notice something? There's a cigarette there, and there's another, and another. The 1920s was the rise of flapper culture and the rise of big tobacco. 1920s America continues to share shocking similarities to being a teenager. Everything in the 20s was big emotions, and the kinetic energy of being alive was a new and overwhelming sensation. We just have to compare the two. Tobacco use exploded when before it was Papa on the front porch smoking his pipe and reminiscing about how times were slower. Now it was a 19 or 20-year-old woman in a short dress who smells of liquor and furs working on her 10th cigarette of the night. Big Tobacco was able to use newspapers, ad posters, and now the new communication technology to start broadcasting over the air and into the minds of the masses. And let me just say, these guys went and started making money, not just wealthy. Some of these groups had enough resources to start shaping and influencing the very definition of what it meant to be it. Before the 1920s, it was seen as gauche to flaunt your wealth. But now, there are these things called movie stars. The silver screen captivated all of America. And movie stars like Clara Bow and Tallulah Bankhead could now be used to glamorize and monetize the flapper lifestyle. These stars in their day would draw the audience's attention, all while holding a cigarette. Looking to secure their momentum and propel themselves even further into near financial godhood, companies like the famous Lucky Strike ran for many profitable quarters with the slogan, "Reach for a Lucky instead of a Sweet," overtly implying that there were valuable weight loss benefits of smoking. Remember, we're in the 1920s. The target audience is a 1920s woman that has been conditioned to be obsessed with her image, both in the real world with the social backlash she experienced from her community, and in the imaginative worlds created by the silver screen. In those 10 short years, concerns about health risks like lung cancer began to rise. The price of trying to escape or rewrite the reality of the world they lived in, a world stifled by tradition and tormented by the devastation of war, would ultimately be placed on the tab of the generations that followed them. Because we have just created the age of big tobacco. For a countless number of Americans who came before us, we of 2026 are truly the future. So what are we doing right now? Okay, we are back behind the wheel. I'm gonna try to keep this brief. This driving is a metaphor. I'm gonna do some onboarding different from my last video, and we're gonna talk about some of the things I learned as I'm driving around the track. I hope this doesn't hurt the metrics of my video, but be that as it may, I'm having fun. And I guess for anybody who is still with me at this point, maybe you're having fun too. So let's keep having fun. All right, let's do it. Okay, so here we go. This was something. Yeah. I want to talk about that real quick. So my goal is to focus on my braking, and I ultimately want to be able to get to Group 3 cars driving with their level of speed and acceleration and braking. So this Beamer is always just going to be my starting point. It's going to be where I, grab a certain skill and start tinkering with it and playing with it before slowly graduating up to a higher class of cars. We're going to move from the M3 and we're going to graduate up to a 458 Italia. It's a long-standing car in this game. Been there for a while. So for this Group 4 car, I knew what I wanted to do was I wanted to do the same thing I did in the M3. That means go as fast as possible while focusing on my braking points. It's just same things, new car. And what do I have to do to achieve that same result in this class and type of car? Around these next couple of laps, I start trying to approach that, getting a feel for how the car takes corners, and what's it like when you put the power down. Say feel. That's something I've had. That's probably one of the biggest, if I could be honest, one of the biggest things I've had to gain while going through this whole sim racing process is trying to learn how to feel a virtual or digital whatever car. You know what I'm saying? Now I don't have the most luxurious sim racing setup. I just have a regular schmegular G29 foot pedal and steering wheel. And if I suck at driving and my steering wheel is just more stiff and it's giving me more feedback from the road, but I don't know what to look for, then what am I doing with all that feedback? So this G29 is perfect for me, and I'm just getting a feel for things. So the big thing, trail braking. I want to introduce trail braking into my driving correctly. This time for this video, last time I said just look to the right, my lap times, the timer. For this video, I'm going to give you a bit of a challenge for anybody who's new to this. You also want to look at the bottom left and the bottom right. You see that white bar with the red flickering on it? It's like flickering on the bottom right. And then there's another one that you will see soon enough. It also creates a white bar and it has little red flickers on it. The right is my throttle. Like in any car, the right side is your throttle, the left side is your brake. So you'll see, look at how those two bars are going up and down as I approach turns. The goal as I go through each turn is this is going to be a little tricky, and I am not a professional, so I'm going to try to keep it as simple as I can make it. As you turn the wheel, you want the left bar it'll go up as you approach a turn. That means you're on the brakes, and as you navigate that turn, you want to slowly lift off like I did there to allow the car to rotate more through a turn. And then the right bar is your throttle, and that pushes you right through the turn down a straight, potentially into just another turn. So let's look. Let me shut up and just look. Left bar, I'm approaching. As I turn off of the bar, as I exit the turn, gradually increase your throttle. I didn't say gradually, quietly, but you know what I'm trying to say. This one, hard brake. Now see there, I didn't do as good there, if I can just be honest. I didn't do as good, but the reason why I'm still going quicker than my previous lap at 157 was because I had done enough things right in the previous turns. Watch my brake as I turn off the brake, a downshift to get more power at that rate of speed and kind of get me up out of the corner. You downshift, you have more powerful acceleration, not for straight line speed. I'm trying to get up to speed again quickly. So here I am again. Quick shift to third to carry me through this straight because I'm only going to lift. I'm not going to downshift. Oh, I guess I did. I downshift to try to correct myself. I actually ended up losing time there. Downshift again because I overshot it. Way overshot it. Try to stay off the wall. It's funny. All these little... That was such a quick Let me just pause real quick. So that was a quick interaction right there. It took like maybe half of a second. But the fact that I didn't touch that wall is a sign of growth because I'm learning how to correct what I'm imagining myself is in a race. And when you hit the wall, there's a litany of things that happen. You can incur damage. You will get penalties. And so, but you're going to slow down. And in a race, you don't want to be the slowest car on the track. You want to be the fastest. So learning how to make sure that if I make a mistake, I don't make other mistakes requires a certain level of finesse and being able to feel the car, knowing how to shift down to try to engage more of your power to last minute adjust your car, or knowing your steering inputs not to overcorrect. All these little things that are coalescing, and that was a great example of the coalescing, the braking, the finesse through the corners. So it all plays together. That's what improving really is all about. It's just stacking one success or one lesson at a time, and then eventually your things start to come together. Go from a 159 to a 155. So I was thinking 2 to 3 seconds, and essentially we'll say 3 seconds. If it was a low 155, I would call it 4. But I'm going to be honest, it's closer to 3, a little more than 3, I would say. So the area for growth and improving. This is the part of life, honestly, that I just really enjoy, and to have an outlet that I can pour that into, not just with racing, because that's a personal passion of mine, but with these YouTube videos, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of time management and making sure that I'm not leaning too hard one way or the other. But like life, it's the little things that you learn how to do that stack up and help make you the kind of person you are. So thank you guys for watching. There will be another video coming out soon. I was thinking maybe one video a month, but maybe I can squeeze another video in. I don't know. I already have it pre-recorded. I just need to edit it all together, do my research. So we'll see. If not by the end of this month, definitely by next month. This is not my full-time thing on YouTube. I still have a job outside of this, And so I have a lot of different things doing, but I'm having so much fun doing this that it's nice to have a good outlet, and if I just get 3 views, I'm happy, so I'm not doing it necessarily for the viewership. I'm doing it to just have fun, and if people want to be a part, you are more than welcome to join. We're just having fun here, man, and learning and improving. Anyways, you guys have a good one. Be safe, be wise, and be prayerful. And I will catch you in the next video.